I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about Leaving Cert Geography and what you could expect if you were to choose it as a Leaving Cert subject. So in terms of the Leaving Cert course, it's kind of broken into two parts. The first part is the exam and the actual Leaving Cert exam, which is worth 80%, and then 20% of it is worth for something called a geographical investigation or field work. So you go out. In terms of the exam, some of the stuff you will have covered at Junior Cert. So some of the topics in terms of what you do is, I kind of explained it that it's sometimes that some of the things you would have done in Junior Cert, except in a lot more detail. And the course is much bigger, as you would expect at Leaving Cert. So some of the concepts that you would have done in first, second and third year, but in a lot more detail than what you would be doing presently. Okay, so there's short questions, and then there's the long questions that are on physical geography, so things like volcanoes, rivers, earthquakes, glaciers, something called regional geography that you will have never studied before, human geography, geoecology, which you'll never have done before, and then the geographical investigation. So our short questions is the first part of your exam, and then moving on to physical geography, so things like plate tectonics, rivers, glaciers, the coast, weathering, mass movement, stuff like that. So a lot of the stuff in the physical geography section you will have covered, but not to the same detail. The next section is something called regional geography, which you will not have touched on before, so which will be a completely new thing. And the idea of regional geography is looking at specific parts of Ireland and specific parts of the world, and kind of the explanation is that they are somehow different based on their physical or their primary or secondary or tertiary activities. The regional geography section is quite, I suppose, I'm not going to say intense, but there's a lot in it, and won't have done it before. So particularly the essay questions that you have to do in the exam are pretty hard going. Then human geography, we're looking at population, urban geography, and problems that are associated with cities, and things like migration, urban decline, and stuff like that. And that's the kind of human geography aspect. So again, that would be kind of covered in sixth year. Some of this you will have done in Junior Cert, but to nowhere near the same sort of level that you will do at Leaving Cert. And finally, or penultimately, something called geoecology. Now, this is only students who choose to do higher level when they get into sixth year. So geoecology is all about the idea of places like the Amazon rainforest being a very distinctive place, and we looked at the plant life and the animals and the whole biosphere that exists there, and soils, different plants that grow, and really look at that in some depth. That's only for the higher level students, however. So if you end up doing ordinary level, you won't be covering that aspect. And then finally, the last bit is what's called the geographical investigation or our field work. And generally what happens is we will go and do some kind of investigation of geography outside of the classroom, which is quite often one of the most interesting kind of things that you will do in Leaving Cert Geography. So you go to, this is a couple of my students from last year, and we went to a river in County Wicklow, and we measured a couple of things in the river. So they had to get into the river and to measure how quickly it was moving, how much erosion or deposition was taking place, and they carry out a number of experiments over the course of an entire day when they were there. So using different pieces of equipment to carry out experiments, and so you spend a full day doing that, and then writing up the results. And then finally, when you come back to the classroom, you fill out a report on that, and that report is worth 20% of your Leaving Cert grade. It's handed up before the exam, usually a month before your Leaving Cert exam, and it was a really important part of the course. It's also, I think, a really memorable part of the course as well. So if you choose geography, it's something that I suppose you will always remember. If you have any questions in terms of what I've just spoken about, please do stop me on the corridor. I look like this without a mask on. If you have any questions, either pdowdican at KTCS, or alternatively, ask your current geography teacher, and they will be able to give you a rough idea of some of the things that we do in Leaving Cert, and maybe kind of advise you on anything like that. Thanks for listening. Bye.